streaming. Is that working? Okay. Yeah, that's the one that's getting picked up. Alright. I should also probably go to the live stream so I can check out what's going on.
This is going to be one of the few times where I'm not just a vocal person inside of a Fortnite
during
stream.
the that, and then the Dragon Ball Z thing.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of sad that there's not more episodes coming out right now.
Right?
You're like, oh, the show's overhyped. I'm like, I like the hype.
I've been finding a gap in my Saturday nights where I can't.
Oh man,
I've
my
got to
lip
find
was
something to
busted.
watch.
Right? Oh,
That's
it kind of does.
Yeah, maybe I bit it or something. It's like dark red, and the other's like
Yeah, you've been eating cherry candies.
the wonders of video cameras. All right.
The wonders of lighting.
Yeah. So we need to take the link to the stream. Go to Game Over. Go to Announcements. And paste. At everyone. RMFH.
Good to know that one of my favorite D&D games is
yeah,
having a
this.
season 2 finale.
And I are live streaming a mini podcast chatting about Pokemon Switch news.
I love how Pokemon always goes through these resurgences. People like Peter's back to freaking everyone talking about it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I changed her name. That's funny. Chiblima in the chat, the Kayla does the podcast. I changed her name to Darkwing Duck from the old cartoon. Yeah, so we have 13 people watching, which is pretty good considering it's kind of late, and we're not talking about Zelda.
Yeah, not this time.
Yeah. This is the part
Next
I
time,
always
though.
say. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Alright, we have RIP My Wii U Switches reign supreme now. Mallow Studios. I guess that's a reference to the Mallow Mart.
Maybe.
Curfy? Please say hello and my name. That'll mean I've spoken to Wiley, Commonwealth, Ziltic, and now Jesse. You're getting all of the chamber members there, I guess. RMFH is here as well.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And Avrith, who does some background work.
Secretly, I've been a sage the whole time.
Yeah. No, just like the real games, it changes. Like in, just make sure you're not the water sage, because then Ganondorf will come and just straight up murder you.
No, I'm the sage from the CDI game timelines.
Were there sages? Like, I
I
guess
have no idea.
Zelda, I guess she can always count as a sage. You know? I don't know. Oh, something else during the debunking the BuzzFeed video, I found out that Eslo, who gets turned into the hat, because that was another thing they messed up, is they said your hat gets turned into a bird. But it's really,
What?
yeah, that's what they say in the video, that Link's hat gets turned into a bird. And we had to correct it saying, no, Link doesn't have a hat in Minish Cap. And then there's like an old wizard that gets turned into a bird who becomes your hat. And then, like they said, A Link to the Past comes directly before A Link Between Worlds. And they just skip. Yeah, so like to them, the downfall timeline's like A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, Link's Awakening, Oracle Games, Zelda 1 and 2. And it's like, no, it's... Yeah, like you can't... Like it literally says it takes place like 100 or so years later. Anyways, we got 16 people. We're ready. I apologize. Let me click record. I already clicked record. Okay. Shows how much I know. I hate this stuff. Like, starting the podcast is always the worst. I thought about doing a thing for podcasts.
I know how.
For these little mini podcasts, like calling them, because the actual podcast is the Hylian's Gamescast. So these little mini episodes, I was trying to think of something to call them. So I thought of the Ura cast, because Ura Zelda, infamous to Zelda fans. Ura just means like another, or is it like a second or
whatever?
Yeah,
the original version of Master Mode.
Yeah, so it was like in Japanese it literally just meant another Zelda, basically. And then I thought about side quest, so like the Hylian Gamecast side quest, because it's instead of the main thing. I don't know, just ideas.
That sounds like a good idea, dude.
I don't know.
You talk about different subjects and everything.
Yeah. Are you guys ready?
Always.
Yeah. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared for this. I'm sorry, guys. Alright, let's get started. I always get nervous at the beginning. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me, and we are all here with RMFH and Avrith to discuss all of the recent Pokemon for Switch rumors, news, leaks, everything that's been going on. And we have we're going to list 5 to 10 different features that comes from these leaks and rumors that we think or would like to be in the game. So, RMFH, for those who don't know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm RMFH. I have a channel, RMFH Gaming. I make a lot of Zelda content. It's recently slowed down due to no new talk about any new Zelda games. So
yeah, until E3.
Kind of trying to branch out and everything right now. So the channel's slow moving. But most people know who I am that have watched Jesse's channel before. So I don't feel the need to go on.
Alright, and what about you, Avrith? Where may people know you?
Well, people who know you mostly know me from the Discord as Hi King Avrith. If you want to find out any more about me, check out the Discord. I'm the resident otaku and, well, also the most elite Pokemon gamer. Joking around. But I technically do have all the Pokemon, so I am under the master.
Alright, and as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be discussing our top 5 to 10 features that we want in the game. And to start off, we actually have a news story here that may be a little bit more confirmation to these actually existing, because there were trademarks registered by the Pokemon Company, or Game Freak. And the interesting thing about this is, as I'm sure a lot of you already know, when Pokemon Sun and Moon were first leaked, it was leaked in a similar fashion to these games, Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, to where they were leaked, no one really believed them because Nintendo had a pattern of using colors and stuff, and this was one of the first times that they went away from using traditional naming schemes with Sun and Moon. So a few days after the leak, there were official trademarks filed, and then the games were officially announced a couple of months later. And it's a similar situation happening now, to where everyone is getting all of these leaks and rumors about the names, and then the Pokemon Company actually trademarks the names Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, which also lines up with a leaked screenshot that came out several months ago that a lot of people thought were fake, which featured your character with an Eevee behind him or in front of him on top of a Lapras, like surfing on the water. And it lines up because if this is supposed to be the remakes of Yellow, as the rumors suggest, and it has your Pokemon following behind you, one of the games is named Eevee. This lines up perfectly, because with the Eevee following behind you, it literally, the screenshot captures what the rumors are saying now, and it goes along with the trademarks. So, to start from here, what do you guys think about this? Starting with you, RMFH. Rick.
Give me a second. Go ahead, Averith.
All right.
Well, from the little bit we know on the leaks, when you mentioned the Lapras, that people were, it was stated that the Alolan ride Pokemon are kind of a thing. I do like the idea of this is actual Red and Blue, as we know them in the Pokemon anime as Ash and Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Gary getting the, in yellow version, the Eevee, Ash getting the, well, Pikachu. Everyone knows Pikachu.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in the whole prospects of the idea of you getting to play the rival this time.
Yeah.
Does that mean that there's going to be other story? That's my huge question right now. Does this mean I get to be the grandson?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing here is, I mentioned I seen this earlier on Twitter, but there was someone joking around that if you play, or if you pick your character and then you pick Pikachu for your starter, you're essentially just getting a choice of one evolution. But if you pick Eevee as your starter, then you get like 8 more evolutions to choose from. And possibly even more if Nintendo decides to add in a few extra Eevee evolutions for this generation, since it is like, you know, the game's named after Eevee, so it would make sense for them to give some like high evolution, like whatever would be next, or like some, if there is an element or a certain type that Eevee hasn't gotten yet, then have him get that. Like, I don't know if there's a ghost Eevee, or like even a dragon Eevee, as weird as that would be, just like an Eevee with wings.
There is the rumor of the normal type Eevee,
Yeah.
which Eevee evolving with a level to a normal Pokemon, which would just be a bigger Eevee, I guess.
Wait, I thought there was already one like that.
Well, that Eevee is the normal type.
No. There was a normal evolution.
No, not yet.
I'm gonna
There's
Google
a
this.
fairy evolution.
Maybe
with
it was
Sylveon.
just artwork that I seen.
Yeah, and they added that, what, in Gen 7?
6.
6? Yes.
If you count Alola as Gen 7, I'm not exactly certain.
Yeah.
There's new Pokemon, so like.
Oh yeah, I must have just seen like fan artwork.
Let's see. Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon, Umbreon, Espeon, Psychic Dark, Glaceon, Leafeon, Ice, Grass, Sylveon. Yeah, that's fairy type.
That's all of them.
Yeah, so with
I can remember all these.
one of the big rumors is that it will have a lot of back and forth connectivity to the new Pokemon Go, which kind of makes sense. Everyone downloaded Pokemon Go. You have all of the Pokemon that you caught with Pokemon Go. So the rumor just states that you're going to have some sort of connectivity. It doesn't say exactly what it is. Averith earlier, we were talking about this on a voice call, and he mentioned that he had some trouble with this because I guess he was looking at it from a different perspective than I was. I don't. I'll explain how I was thinking it, and then Averith can go in and explain his. So this is one of the things that we was on this list, is the things that we want. Is this rumor coming true that it will connect to Pokemon Go? And the way that I see this is the most simplest thing is if you spend all your time catching these Pokemon in Pokemon Go, you're walking around, you have more of a connection to that than you do with most Pokemon games because you're actually going out, playing it, like you're getting exercise, you're hanging out with a bunch of friends, to where normally if you're playing Pokemon, then you were just like on the school bus as a kid playing it on the original Game Boy or Game Boy Color. So, especially for the adults that are getting back into Pokemon, they might have more of a connection to the Pokemon that they caught in Pokemon Go than the Pokemon that you catch, you know, just playing the game on Switch. So, it would kind of make you OP if you could just directly transfer all of your Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon on the Switch. But if there were a certain point in the game, like after you get a certain amount of badges, or maybe even after you become the Pokemon champion, so pretty much you have the game beat, or most of the game beat, you unlock an ability or something that lets you finally transfer your Pokemon to your Switch. That way you can take these Pokemon that you have in Pokemon Go and go on real Pokemon battles with other people. Not the weird version of a Pokemon battle that's in Pokemon Go, but an actual Pokemon battle, and then maybe you can transfer it back to your Pokemon Go account. Another way that I was thinking is once you sign up for Pokemon Go, one of the first things that it asks you is which team do you want to be on. Do you guys remember the names of the 3 teams?
Valor, Instinct,
Mystic.
Yes.
There we go.
So, a second thing, this is like, again, I guess it counts as number 2, but it's still connectivity with Pokemon Go, is in the game, once you connect to that, once you connect the Switch to the app on your phone, then it automatically puts you in whatever team that you chose. So maybe there's a building in some city, in some area, that you can only have access to if you are a part of that team. And it doesn't give you anything that would be, again, overpowered or whatever, but maybe it has like Ultra Balls or special items, special weapon, or not weapons. You don't really use weapons in the game. But like, yeah, just special items like rare Pokeballs or rare items for really cheap. But it's only certain rare items, where if you would have picked Mystic instead of Valor, right? I get it right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you pick Mystic instead of Valor, then maybe it has certain items that are rare that the other places don't have. So depending on which team you have, you get these different rewards, basically. And then maybe that'll encourage you on the next playthrough to pick a different team. Instead of Team Mystic, you pick Team Valor or whatever. And yeah, it kind of rewards you depending on what you do. So those are my 2 things. So you already had your list, Avrith. So what would be number 3 on this that you would want? And then we'll go to you, Rick.
Okay.
Well, because what you were mentioning, I want to take a point off that, actually.
Oh.
Just, if you don't mind me bouncing off that for a real quick second, because it is part of the list. It is part of my list.
Okay.
But you're talking about Mystic, Valor, and all those team choices. I was thinking not just customizing the character, but since it's Pikachu or Eevee-centric starters, customizing your Pokemon. Now, you see stuff like this in Digimon, where you get to put like little goggles or little capes on these guys, but it'd be kind of cool if you could customize your main companion Pokemon like that, your starter, because in Pokemon Yellow, Pikachu was your starter. You do not evolve him, you could not.
Yeah.
Unless you like glitch the game in a slight way. But it would be kind of cool to do stuff like that, and that's kind of one of my hopes, is you could customize your little Pikachu or your Eevee who hangs out on your shoulder with little things.
See, I was also thinking, because you're talking about customization, so like, what if it's just your outfit? So like, you get to look like your character from the app.
Exactly. Those clothes customizations are... I admit that I might have... one of the few in-app purchases I make in video games is I like customizing my character. Now you can customize your character as Red from Pokemon, Red and Blue. So that's kind of neat to me. And you got like little other character stuff as well, and you get to customize as Rocket or Rainbow Rocket, which is neat by itself.
Yeah.
I like customization, and if you're doing it for a mainline, especially a Switch game, more customization is always appreciated, at least to me, because if I'm going to go through the game, I like to look... I'm a 10-year-old with a goatee, yes, that would be great.
Yeah, it would be cool in this game if, like, typically, it has you play as a kid, but like with Zelda games, sometimes you play as a kid, sometimes you play as an adult. So, it would be interesting if you played as an adult. I think they did something kind of like that with the Colosseum on the Gamecube, Pokemon Colosseum, to where he was like an older teenager. He wasn't just a 10-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he was around 16, 17, something like that. I don't know. But if you're done, Avrith, then we can go on to number 4 from Rick, or you can finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Avrith? No, I was good. Right. Customization. That's the big thing. I just went off on the tangent with that.
Right.
My big thing for this is we're returning to Kanto, and I feel like I've been there so many times already. But I mean, at least from what the leaks are saying, and based off the titles of the games, I'm just hoping that it's changed enough, or they change it enough to where it's not like just going through different
the same areas,
skin and better graphics in the same areas. I'd love the nostalgia, but I feel like Pokemon, since Generation 6 came out, has just been all nostalgia. That's all it's really been focused on. We were returning with older Pokemon, and then we did Sun and Moon, and we did Ruby and Sapphire as well before that. So, I mean, now we're going back to Kanto again. I don't know. It just seems a little much. I do like the aspect of it, and I really do like Kanto, and I'm a Gen 1er all the way, but I don't know. I just really hope it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
That they actually show something that's, different. I'm not going and looking through the same places. That would really bug me.
So, with that in mind, I would really like it if they took the general concept of what it originally looked like, but then just completely expanded on it. Like in using Zelda again as an example. If you look at Lake Hylia from Ocarina of Time, there's it's really small. There's only one way in, one way out, unless you count well, actually no, that's a lie. You can go through the river from the Gerudo Valley. You can go to the main entrance, or you can use the Zora Warp. So I was completely wrong about that. I apologize. But for the most part, there is just that main entrance. Whereas if you look at Lake Hylia in Twilight Princess, or even Lake Hylia in Breath of the Wild, both are a lot larger than Lake Hylia in Ocarina of Time. There's more stuff added in. And then the same thing if you look at Goron City and Twilight Princess, or Twilight Princess or Breath of the Wild, and then you look at it in Ocarina of Time, it's vastly different. So you still have all of those same familiar areas with the same maybe monuments and stuff like that. But it's a completely new, built from the ground up. It has the same name, the same locations, the same things that you would expect to find. Like if you go to wherever place you choose, and then you remember that the gym is in the top left corner of the town. The Pokemart is in the very center, and then the Poke Center is in the top right. And then you go there, and it's still there, but the town itself is just filled a lot more. Maybe it's 4 or 5 times the size that it was in the original. Because in the original, it was designed specifically with the Game Boy in mind, to where now they could do almost anything they want to. I don't see them making a super huge world, but I definitely see them expanding on it. If it is a return to it, then I expect it to be an actual remake as opposed to just updating the graphics. So that's the way that I see it.
Yeah, I mean there was construction going on in red and blue, and I think they even I think maybe it was fire red and leaf green in Saffron City. They had an area over to the right if you're coming down Route 5, I think.
Yeah.
It was either to the right or to the left or whatever, but there was Machoke building a little something or whatever. It would be cool to see that type of expansion in this game. Plus all the other characters to get that nostalgia from. I want it there, but I don't want it so in your face. I don't know.
And they could even do something if you look at Sun and Moon and then Ultra Sun and Moon. It's basically the same area, but it looks so much different. And I think they did something similar with Black and White and Black and White 2.
On Black and White and Black and White 2, this is something I wanted to mention. Because you're saying we're returning to Kanto. I would like to go through the gym order in a very different way, rather than block first.
What if you could
that would be cool.
Okay, so in a lot of modern RPGs, there's tons of different types of leveling systems. So what if in this game, it lets you go to whichever area you want. So like whichever gym leader you want to go to, you can choose which one to go to. But let's say the first one, no matter which one it is that you go to, is like at level 10. And then the second one is level 20. And then like it keeps going like that. So if you go to Brock first, and then he's level 10, and you can't beat him, and then you go to Misty, she's level 10 as well. So everyone is level, at whatever the base level is. But then if you beat one, all of the others automatically level up with you. That way you can go in any order that you want to. You can choose where to go, and everything stays at the appropriate levels. That way, like, you don't get overpowered too quickly or stumble across a gym that's just way too hard. So similar to Breath of the Wild, like all of the enemies kind of level up with you with each of the divine beasts. Like you start out, everything's like blue and red, but then towards the end of the game, there's a lot of like silver, or in master mode, gold enemies. So it'd be like the same concept in this, to where everything levels up with you.
Well, actually, it's even more like Breath of the Wild. The leveling system for the enemies goes based off of how many enemies you kill. The divine beasts have nothing to do with it, except for in the Colosseum. The Colosseum enemies that have all the elemental weapons and everything, those level up based off of the divine beasts that you've taken out.
Okay, so
all the rest of them level up based off of how many enemies you killed.
The reason I mentioned that is because I mentioned something about the leveling system of Breath of the Wild in my review. If anyone wants to go watch it, it's the top 10 best and worst of Breath of the Wild, which Rick just happens to be in. But in that video, which has like around 1 million views, so thank you everyone that watched it, but there was a lot of comments saying that the enemies level up with the divine beasts. So yeah, there were so many comments saying that I just thought, well, if there's so many people saying it, it must be true. So, but thank you for correcting that.
Yeah, I was writing a video about it, but I ended up not doing it. This one Reddit user, I think it's Hero or something like that, did a whole thing about it and did a bunch of research on the subject. And each enemy has a different counter or whatever, but we're getting off topic. So.
I want to take off to that point, because you mentioned something. Colosseum enemies went based off the divine beasts, but regular enemies went based off how many you killed. I like this idea for how many trainers you've beaten versus how many gym badges you've gotten.
Ooh, that would be a good idea too.
Yeah.
So you got your Elite Four is based off your badges, of course, but but all of your trainers. So there's no way you're ever like, oh my goodness, I'm way too overpowered for these trainers. Now you're just like always baseline with those trainers, because those trainers are training with you.
Yeah, that way
people too.
It makes it so that you can't just go into a gym and just use one Pokemon and completely wipe out everyone. It makes it so that you have to go in and have a strategy. That way, like, you can't just build up a really strong fire type, because if you go in like a water gym, and if you have like a level 60 Charizard and they have a level 20 water Pokemon, even though you're weak against them, you're likely still going, even if you use a fire attack, which is weak against water Pokemon, it's likely still going to one-hit kill that Pokemon just because you're like 3 times whatever their level is. But if everything is leveled with you, then it makes the game more about strategy than it does just having absolute power.
Make you Nuzlockers actually work for that victory.
Yeah. So, if we're done with that, one thing that I would like to add in, and this also goes back to Pokemon Go, so the problem with a lot of games is someone will play through it in a week or so, beat it, and then be done. Take it back to GameStop or wherever, trade it in for another game or sell it to a friend, trade it, do whatever. But a way to get them to stay playing the game is, I think what Pokemon does now is like every month or every few months they'll release a certain rare Pokemon. So my idea is, with this game, instead of giving you all generations of Pokemon at one time, since it is called Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, it gives you maybe the first, possibly even the second generation of Pokemon. But just like in Pokemon Go, you have to wait after a few months, and then they release like Wave 2, which is Generation 2 Pokemon, and then a few months later they release Generation 3, a few months later Generation 4, or maybe it's not even a few months later, like maybe it's just once, like every month they release the new generation. That way it doesn't take like 2 years before you can get all Pokemon. But it still, like, if your favorite generation is the 4th generation of Pokemon, then if you play through the game and beat it, and you're getting ready to like trade it in or whatever, and you hear Generation 4's coming in 2 months, you're going to be like, okay, I'll just hold on to the game. And then it completely changes the gameplay for you depending on which Pokemons which Pokemon are your favorite. Because maybe if you go to like a certain area and there's only like Pikachus or Eevees or whatever in that area, and then you go to it again, suddenly instead of just 2 or 3 different types of Pokemon, now because all of the generations have been released, now there's like 20 different types of Pokemon in that area, which again completely changes it. And then maybe you can even revisit gym leaders later on to re-challenge them, and they also have the new Pokemon. So that's basically releasing, like, the first month have it with the first generation of Pokemon, and then 2 months later release another generation, 2 more months release another generation, and it keeps players to have a reason to come back. So that's my thing that I want them to add in, because it's what they did with Pokemon Go. And as you see in Pokemon Go, a lot of people play it for a while, they lose interest, but then once they started releasing the legendary Pokemon or the next generation of Pokemon, a lot of people got back into it. There was another spike. But then interest slowly dipped, but whenever they released new legendaries or another wave of Pokemon, people went back to it. So in the same way, I think it'll keep a lot of Nintendo fans holding on to their game instead of getting rid of it. So,
mind if I add into that?
See.
This is the Switch. It's got online internet connectivity, and we live in the world of DLC. There's a Pokemon toy line that's being released under the name Let's Go Johto.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say release the generations as DLC, like pay $10 and then you can get Generation 2.
Why not? Season pass it if they want. Like you buy the season pass and slowly but surely each generation comes out and go to the other areas. Granted, you max out at 99, so maybe they have to find a way to deal with that, but it's Nintendo, it's Game Freak. I'm pretty sure they're smarter than I am when it comes to these things.
Even with that handheld console.
Yeah.
You know, but I see it definitely keeping morale up but I could see a lot of people getting salty about it being locked behind a DLC wall.
Yeah.
But it would be cool. I could see it if they not only added the Pokemon, but added a new area that you could go to catch those Pokemon.
That's right.
So then it's
like
not
if they-
just the Pokemon.
Like adding
Yeah.
in Johto.
The Breath of the Wild DLC. Crap, I just forgot the name of it. For the
Champion's
Hero
Ballad?
Cycle. There it is. Doing it like that, it's real DLC. You got story to go along with your stuff. You get a new region, you got more story. You got more than just new Pokemon. Which, yes, I love Kanto, but come on, Johto's fun too.
Yeah, exactly. I am a little bit. This is a tangent, but I'm a little worried about that leaked photo. I do like the art style of the 3DS games and everything, but I don't know. I feel like the Switch could do a lot more. I'm hoping that leaked photo isn't real, or if it is real, that it was like, they were just using models from the 3DS games, or just up-resed what they had from because they did the data mining for I think it was Sun and Moon, or was it before that? I can't remember.
They did both, I believe. They've done it.
Okay.
They always do data mining.
Yeah, and they found the HD models or whatever for all the Pokemon and everything. So I just feel like it could be a lot better in terms of graphics if that is actual, leaked photo from the game.
Well,
But
Think alpha footage.
one
yeah,
thing
exactly. That's what I'm hoping for.
one thing I want to point out is, let's use the 3DS as an example. When the first Pokemon game that came out for the 3DS was, I believe, X and Y,
hmm
which looked like what you would expect from like an upgraded DS. Like moving from what the DS games looked like to the 3DS, it looked in line with how you expected. But then when we got to Sun and Moon, and it completely changed what the game looked like. Like it's on the same console, but the art style completely changes. Like it no longer looks like the top-down 2D Pokemon game. It looked like it had full 3D models that you would expect in a home console game, except the camera angle is just fixed on to where it still looks like the top-down 2D thing. But the character models look like more traditional home console characters instead of little chibi characters. So in that sense, I think on the Switch they could do something similar to where it's not going to keep the same art style that we've seen on, like, all of the Game Boy games had basically the same pixel art style. All of the Game Boy Advanced games had the same art style. All of the DS games, I believe, had the same art style. But then the 3DS had two art styles. So I think the Switch could do the same, to where like maybe this Pokemon game and the next one looks like HD versions of Sun and Moon. But after that, they release one that looks like it actually takes advantage of all of the power that the Switch has, instead of just up-resing what was already there.
Give me a Pokken-style Pokemon game.
Oh man, I was kind of hoping when they when the rumors were going around about them updating the battle system, that we would maybe get something not like Pokken where you're controlling the Pokemon, but more of a like it is in the anime, where you can like Ash can deflect attacks with a different attack or something. The way the battle system works in the anime and the games are a lot different, but countering attacks is something that hasn't been done in terms of like just the way that they do it in actual battling in the anime. So I think that if it was more of a less controlled based off of 4 different moves, and more of a you have the power to maybe block something with a thunderbolt if it's an attack that's weak against electricity or something. That would be pretty cool to see them change up the battle system.
So what I would like to see is maybe traditional battles, like you just run into like Fisherman Gary or whoever, and he's just like, it's just a standard battle. But once you get to the actual gym leader, Or even if it's not the gym leader, maybe there's like an arena that you can go to in the game. Kind of like the Coliseum in Breath of the Wild. But you go to this arena and you get Pokemon battles, but it's more Pokken Tournament style Pokemon battles as opposed to the traditional. And then that in itself they could release like 6 months after the game comes out. And they're like, hey, $10, you get whatever these new items or Pokemon are, and you also get access to this arena, which completely changes the way that you battle. Because then you could be really good, like you could be an expert at the way traditional Pokemon battles go. But since this is more akin to Pokken Tournament in this Coliseum or whatever, then maybe you completely suck, to whereas the other way you're really good. So then someone who would be like an average turn-based Pokemon player is suddenly really good at this version. So it changes it up to where like maybe traditionally every single time I played against Averith, he kicks my butt. But in this Coliseum, maybe I kick his butt. So like that way it changes it up, and yeah.
Can I mention a hybrid type then?
Si, senor.
Granted, people are gonna hate me for this sacrilege.
I already
It's kind of like the idea of Digimon, what they did, where affection means something to the Pokemon, rather than like evolution at this point, or how strong frustration versus return is on your Pokemon. Have it where like if you train a Pokemon, it'll start doing what you want it to do in the battle, where connection with your Pokemon, it does what it's going to do, and you're like, you have your base of moves that you know, your force set, but your Pokemon, maybe you didn't train him right and he just sucks at dodging. You could be fighting this Goldeen, it's just like bubble, 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 and you got a Pikachu. No, that didn't. Your Pikachu's dodging those bubbles, but for some reason that Goldeen just flopping around those Thunderbolts.
Yeah, I hate Gold.
See, I think they even tried something similar to that in Sun and Moon. Like I would notice sometimes when I was playing, I'm no Pokemon expert, I love the games, but what I would notice is when I was in like regular battles, not online battles, but you know, in the game, in the main story, I would notice that, you know, my Pokemon in certain instances would turn around and then a heart would come up and it would do something like dodge an attack or something like that. It would have a higher chance of doing that because I used it more often. So they've done like something very similar to that, but I'd like to see them expand on like what you're saying.
Exactly. That is something they did. If you took care of it, like you brushed it and all that stuff, you were this Pokemon's friend. The more you did for it, the more it would do. Unlike this cat of mine that for some reason likes to be in front of the camera. But the more it would do, like if you have like full friendship with it, it would. What's that term? It would survive a hit because it didn't want to make you cry.
Yeah, like that's what it was.
You could doing stuff like that, but in, let's say a battle that looks kind of Pokken-esque, that would be amazing. Now, I'm not saying that this is what this game's going to do. This game could just be like, here's Kanto again. We're banking on nostalgia, but I would love that. I'm not going to lie. I would be like, here Nintendo, here's $60. I'll even get the collector's edition. Here's a 60 more bucks. Oh, it doesn't come with a statue? I don't care.
Oh, that's another thing, is traditionally Pokemon, since they are handheld games, were more like $30 to $40. But this is going to be... what?
That's one thing that I've been worried about with this game coming out on Switch.
No, like what I'm saying is like this will be the first time that it's a full $60 Pokemon game. So maybe there's more incentive for them to put extra effort into it since it is selling for more money.
Well, I'm hoping that it's filled with more content than, you know, something that's worth $40 compared to $60, because it's a $20 price gap.
Yeah.
You got to fill it with something.
It's like
more than just graphically changing everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a as far as we can tell, it's pretty much a re-release of Yellow and well, just Yellow really.
Yeah, they said it was. The rumor is it's two separate remakes of Yellow. So instead of like Red and Blue, like people I guess would assume, It's just taking Yellow and then remaking it into two separate games. So like you're getting two different versions where I guess the Pikachu game is going to follow the path of Yellow, but then maybe the Eevee game tells a slightly different story. So
the story of Ash versus the story of Gary. Now,
then
seriously,
here's
if
the
you do that Pokemon, you got money.
If they end up making a third version, like they used to do, what would the third version be? Like, let's go Pikachu, let's go Eevee, let's go Gyarados. I don't know.
Let's go big starter.
Like, who?
They'd probably just go, let's go Charmander and just do that over again.
Or they could just go with Clefairy. That was the other potential mascot that they had.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the original.
Now, I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do, but that would be kind of neat. I mean, you're starting with a Clefairy. No one expects Clefairy.
That's weird. I never pick Clefairy for anything.
No one does. Like, people tend to pick Wigglytuff and Jigglypuff more than they pick Clefairy, even though fairy typing now, if you keep fairy typing in this game, you're going to see Clefairy becoming a big deal in Kanto.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, another thing that this obviously needs, which I think it's something that's obviously going to have, is as great as Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon was, and as amazing as it looked on the console, like the original 3DS has a lot of trouble just playing the game because it's so graphically demanding. Like, it chugs along when you get into like high-ranking battles and stuff with like multiple Pokemon on the screen. Like, it just like goes down to like 10 frames a second. But anyways, playing that game, because it looks like a game that you would be playing on like your Wii U at the time, because that was what was out, or the Switch or whatever, because it looks like a game you'd be playing on there. I kept having the urge to like mess with the camera angle. So like an imaginary analog stick to where like I just want to like turn the camera around to see like different camera angles. So with this, again, it's something obvious. I can't imagine them not putting it in, because what else are they going to use the right analog stick for if it doesn't control the camera? But
let me take pictures.
Yeah. But that's just something that I want to see them put in there, to where you can like zoom in, zoom out with the camera, like everything you can do in a traditional game, like Zelda or Mario or whatever, where you can move the camera around. So again, it's obvious for like they would have to go out of their way to not do it, because then it's like, are you just going to have a useless right analog stick? Like, I don't, yeah. So
it would be kind of neat to actually be able to do camera work, like
even in
somebody.
Sorry,
Breath of the Wild. So, yeah, sorry. No,
I was just going to quickly say, like, even in Pokemon battles, if you could just like turn the camera around to get like different sides of the action instead of the camera always being like at your back and then facing them. Like, if you could just turn the camera to where it's like a side position or like an overhead top down, that way you can look at like, what does Vine Whip look like from this angle, or what does whatever look like from this angle. So, yeah.
I'm sure that fixed camera position also makes it a lot easier for them to get the games out faster, because they don't have to go and, make a full freaking... I'm sure they still do, but they don't have to go, they only have one angle to worry about that you're looking at. You have no freedom to go around and look, so...
Yeah. It would be nice to go through the Pokemon game. Like, I'm going to use Horizon Zero Dawn, but Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey did this great too, where you could just go in, take some pictures. You see a wild Caterpie, but you're just seeing it climbing a tree. Okay, as a Pokemon fan, that would just be kind of neat, and I'd go full Pokemon Snap, like click, click, click.
No, that was a big thing.
Get some Pokemon Snap going.
When Final Fantasy...
Just like, click.
So, like, when Final Fantasy switched from random encounters to seeing the enemies on screen and then it triggering a battle, like, it would be cool if Pokemon did that, to where, like, you actually seen the Pokemon walking around or whatever. But then it's like, there would be so many Pokemon, I feel the areas would just be completely covered in Pokemon if they wanted to keep it more like it is in the game. But or more like it was in the older games. So I don't necessarily know if that's something they could do, but it would be interesting to see. Especially, like, even if they did it with just the rare Pokemon, to where, like, when, like, you're in the cave and you see Mewtwo standing there, instead of it being a random encounter, or, like, fighting Ho-Oh or whoever. Like, you actually see them. So, if a lot of the other Pokemon, if you could see them as well, I think that would be cool. Especially if they're not just stationary, if they are moving around. So
It would be kind of neat just to see Mewtwo playing with the water with its psychic powers and stuff like that. No one who's ever played Pokemon wouldn't want to just, stare at Mewtwo and watch him do his thing before you're like, I'm gonna have to fight this son of a gun.
One thing I've been wondering about is Pokemon Bank integration. I wonder how smooth that's gonna go. I remember when it first came out, and everybody was just like, "Where the heck is it?"
Oh,
Nintendo,
yeah.
you told us it was gonna be here. Where is it?
Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. I was just like, I have all these Pokemon. I want to just like move these guys over so I can start this game over. I want to get all the starters now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That took a while.
They even added Pokebank to like the 3DS version of the original games.
Yep.
Didn't they? Yeah.
Yes, you could transfer, but you could not transfer back. That was the only problem with it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
So, like, if they did that for the original Pokemon games, which were like Game Boy, actually, if you think about it, that's kind of the first example of what we can expect from the Nintendo Online service with the Nintendo Classic games, where they're taking older games and like shoving in online play. Like I guess the first time they did that was with these Pokemon games on the 3DS, to where they took a game that had no online connectivity and then built it into the game. So that's kind of interesting to think about, at least for me.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Nah, I was just gonna say it's interesting. That's it.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of weird how they did that and everything too, because I remember there's a glitch in Red and Blue where you can catch Mew by teleporting or flying from this one trainer in, where is it?
It's above Celadon City.
Where you have to talk to the
Celadon City.
Talk to the
Yeah,
random guy that teaches
if you fight
Yeah.
not that one. It's you fight the guy with the slowpoke, but then you go to try and do a random battle at the same time, or not too long afterwards, and you teleport as someone's. It's like you teleport as someone's coming to you or something like that.
Yeah. And then you just walk somewhere in the grass and Mew will pop up. I tried to transfer that Mew over. It did not work.
No, they knew that glitch exists. They weren't going to let us play with it.
Yeah. That and missing No too. Which I was
like,
wondering how they were going to get around that.
You can't catch
but...
Mew in Celadon City? What are you trying to do?
I would love to. I would to catch missing No and then transfer him to the Pokebank and corrupt my entire everything.
I know, right?
I mean, I have every Pokemon. Why not just delete them?
But yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what they do with that. I wonder if it's gonna possibly be integrated with Pokemon Go, maybe, and that's how you'll transfer your Pokemon over from Pokemon Go. I was listening to a Game Explain discussion on it earlier this week, and they were talking about how they could possibly start using CP instead of a leveling system. Oh my gosh, I would die if they did that.
Yeah. I like knowing my Eevees and Ivees saying like, "Oh, this Pokemon's wonderful. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. I'll be going now. I don't want to worry about CP. Let me level that son of a gun. I want to fight."
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so
because they really dumbed down the battling system in Sun and Moon. So I really hope they don't do it again to kind of break that entry level even more, you know?
Even if they just add a Nuzlocke version, that would be nice.
yeah, so
Yeah, exactly.
the interesting thing about this everything pointing to it being a remake of Yellow, or at least mainly focusing on the first gen Pokemon, is there was an issue in Famitsu magazine where the developer confirmed that it was going to be a next generation of Pokemon. So if it is that, I imagine it's going to be like mixing. If they are going to make it heavily focused on the first generation, then maybe they're taking the first generation of Pokemon and the new generation and mixing them together. So from the start, you get, say, 300 Pokemon. And then the rest of the Pokemon are introduced in waves, like on Pokemon Go. So you get all of the Pokemon for the retro players that they want, but you get all of the new Pokemon from the current players who want the newer Pokemon. So it's like the perfect mix of old and new, and then everything in the middle just comes in waves.
You just made me remember something that I've completely spaced on. Gold and silver.
See?
Maybe you said that the next Pokemon's going to be Gen 8. I mean, I do remember that.
Well, that's
so what
Famitsu said, that the director of the Pokemon series said it was going to be Gen 8.
What if this is a game where you start in Kanto and you have the ability to go to the next region? Like, I mean, that was the huge thing that like pushed the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color to its limits at the time.
That would be.
Imagine.
Oh
amazing.
yeah, I remember that.
If you started and it was
Totally forgot.
all of the retro Gen 1 Pokemon, and then you go to this next
The
one.
next region, because the original leak said it had like MMO-esque capability. I'm like, how does that work? And now that I'm thinking about it, that would work. You start off with something we're all familiar with. Everyone's familiar with Kanto. I'm pretty sure even people who say I've never played Gen 1 are familiar enough with Kanto, even with the maps. Now imagine going into your next region, and how amazing that would be. I'm not saying that this is an MMO game, but MMO-esque means you can see other players, or at least fight them. Because you could say that any Pokemon can be MMO-esque with how, like, you can fight random battles with people who just pop up on the PDF thing. Or
Yeah.
I think that was it.
It would be really cool as well if, like, I don't know if they would do it for every area, but if some of the areas, if you were playing online, then you would run into other people playing. Like maybe there's like a Poke Park, like a specific area that you can go to that's just like a big open field or something, or maybe it's an open town that you can go into, and that's the area where you can walk up to and battle against another actual player and not just an NPC. That way,
100 times better than Friend Safari.
yeah, like if you want to battle against someone but you don't have any friends on your Switch that are playing at the time, and you don't want to just keep battling an NPC, then you can just go to this place and it matches you up with another random person. It would be even cooler if, like, the area was like, it switched from a typical Pokemon battle situation to where it looked more like Pokemon Stadium for like Nintendo 64, to where like instead of just like me and you on like a weird little boat dock battling against each other, suddenly it looks like a giant stadium with like people in the crowd watching. So like it looks like a professional thing. I think it would be cool if they could do that.
This reminds me of something. I was talking about this earlier, so forgive me. I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with it. Did you see the Pokemon release of Pokemon Generations that were their little mini-series where they did a little bit of touching on? This is a rumor of a rumor, so take this with a grain of salt. But someone was saying that might be them testing the waters on the idea of making a larger world of Pokemon with these stories that we know, but retold in a more modern way. Like Giovanni, like everyone knows Silver's Giovanni's son. That's more or less confirmed, but it would be fun to deal with that aspect later on, rather than just like, here's the Celebi event you may or may not get a chance to even accomplish. and stuff like that. It would be. They were saying that Generations was just seeing if people are interested in the idea of touching on more of these stories, like
Generations
the manga.
was the one where he like it was like Ultra Charizard or whatever fighting against Mewtwo at the end.
That was Origins.
Okay,
that's how that.
I hated the main like the concept of battling in that because it wasn't based off how strong your Pokemon was. It was based on the connection you had. So it's like you could have a Charizard that you've been training for 10 years that knows every single move, has a super high level, but then this kid who's had a Charizard for like 2 days, just because he has a stronger bond with it, suddenly he's able to beat your Charizard. Like, that's what I got from that. And it's like, that doesn't make sense.
That's kind of how the regular anime is. I mean, if you remember, like, Gary used to always have Pokemon that were like 2 to 3 times the size of Ash's Pokemon.
Yeah,
but it was always because Ash was like, you know, best friends with this Pokemon that he won his battles.
With that, I always looked at it as like, say if you have a level 50 Pikachu, but then this other guy has like a level 20 Charizard, just because it's bigger and stronger, like its actual level is higher. That's like, I put it in terms of like comparing the battle system to like the leveling that you do in the games, to whereas this Origins made it seem like strength, levels, none of that matters. All that matters is how much you love your Pokemon, and your Pokemon loves you.
Generations didn't seem to do that in that particular way, because Pokemon's always been like, there are people who train for strength, there are people who train for love. Don't get me wrong, I like my Pokemon, but I don't think training for love is something you can feasibly do in a game, because it's just like, I mean, there are people who probably can say I'm an ignorant son of a gun for that, but it would be, I remember the bigger Kingler versus like Ash's Pokemon and all that. I think that's where when I started thinking about the Pokemon Go thing more, that would be neat. Like, you see a Krabby going on the beach, and then you see like this uber Krabby that's like bigger and stronger, and size actually meaning something in a Pokemon game.
That reminds me, there was in the original anime on like season 1, there was the episode where Ash has his Charizard, and his Charizard's always been looked at as like a super powerful Pokemon, but then he gets to this place where like all the other Charizards are, and they're like twice the size of his Charizard, and he has to like let his Charizard go free or whatever. Do you guys remember that episode?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like you get there, and it's like, just because they're all the same Pokemon doesn't mean they're all the same size or the same height or whatever. So what you're saying reminds me of the cool.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Ultra Shiny rumor. Like, different hues of Pokemon would be kind of neat. Different sizes, different weights. Give me a Snorlax that's just extra fat. That would be kind of neat.
He ate one too many Twinkies.
I will name him Otak.
Come across a Gyarados that's like, instead of super long, it's only like 6 feet long.
It's a minnow.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like the size of like an actual snake, and it's like, oh, aren't you so cute and ferocious? Yeah,
that would be amazing.
So to wrap this up, guys, go ahead and name off 2 more things that you would like to see. So 1 for you, Avrith, and 1 for you, RMFH.
I let the more well-known person talk.
I'm horrible at this stuff, man. Let's see. What else do I want from this? I would. We've kind of covered everything that I can think of. Yeah, one of you guys might need to go first. I need to think about this for a little bit.
Well, right. I've already talked about everything, but
for you Pokemon fans, then, because you mentioned Pokemon Go and I know that the leaks say there's connection to Pokemon Go. There's one thing that I would like be out of all of that from Pokemon Go. Throwing the thing. You have a Joy-Con.
I was gonna mention that if you wouldn't like the motion control aspect of it.
Yeah, you can either just, I click the button, throw the ball, hold down and be in prey, or I could swing my ball and go for a curveball to hit that Charmander right on the schnoz, and hopefully that caught him off guard just enough to where caught. No more relying on numbers that you don't see. Actually, your throws mean something. There's no more need for down B. You want to catch your Pokemon? Bop him on the head with a ball. That Gyarados, throw it in his mouth. It's kind of silly, I know, but it would be nice for those Joy-Cons to be in use for a Pokemon game for throwing those balls.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You have
something
to,
else.
You have to throw the balls.
I could see it with the HD Rumble too.
Oh yeah.
With the Joy-Cons, that would be really cool. Really be able to actually like feel the ball shaking and all that stuff.
Yeah, like
awesome.
An easy way they could do. It wouldn't be easy with them because it's more programming on their side, but it would be easier for the consumer. Is you have the traditional way to throw your Pokeball if you just want to press the button, but if you want to have like a little mini game with it, then you can just use the Joy-Con, or even like a normal I almost said PS4, a normal Switch Pro controller. Maybe you can, like, when you're holding it, you can just like do that with it or whatever. So like, let's say I'm holding the controller and then just do that to like make the action of throwing a ball. Because don't you do that with Mario Odyssey when you throw you can throw the hat and you just like flick the controller?
I think on the Pro, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Something like that.
Alright. I might be making that up. If I am, correct me in the chat.
I know for the Joy-Cons for sure, because I never played with that game except with my Joy-Cons.
Yeah. And then
a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's
yeah, my final thing I'd really like
really
to
quick before because this still has to do with motion control, where it has the rumble, the HD rumble and the Joy-Cons. Imagine doing it for the fishing to catch like water Pokemon, and then like once you feel it in the Joy-Con,
cool.
when it's rumbling at a certain position, then you like lift up on it to catch the Pokemon. So like you wait until maybe the entire controller is rumbling instead of just one part of it, and once you feel the entire controller rumbling, you pull up. Or maybe it's a rumble that starts at the bottom and just goes to the top, and then comes back, starts at the bottom, and goes to the top. Like just a certain pattern to let you know, hey, there's a Pokemon on the hook, you can pull it. So something like that would also
Left one rumbles. Left one rumbles. You pull to the right. You pull with the right one. Right one rumbles. You pull with the left one.
Oh no, that would be weird if like you actually had to do it like a real fishing pull. So we're like,
it's Nintendo, man. I can't discount anything with those guys.
They make you use Labo.
Yeah. Get your cardboard, kids. Catch the fish.
You get to use it like a pool cue.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it was another cool way that they could bring in the HD Rumble. But go ahead with the final thing that we want, RMFH.
The final thing I'd really like to see is, they're talking about how they're gonna have Pikachu and Eevee following you around.
Have a
give us
Charizard
access to all of them.
Around.
Yeah, give us access to all of them. Let us have our starter in our team be the one that follows behind us. It would be really cool to see that in a Pokemon game, I think.
Except if you had who's that giant whale Pokemon?
Wailord.
Yeah. So like if you had it following behind you and only just like 10% of its body was on screen because it's so large. It's like,
so you just have a gang beast of
tearing
Wailords,
down-
all six following you at the same time.
It's just like tearing down houses while you're walking.
That would be amazing.
Or at least maybe only have those follow you in the water or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Have it
give
so
you access
that
to
reasonably
ones that are
sized
actually-
Pokemon can follow you. Because
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
try to put like a Gyarados at the front of your party, it's like it gives you like a warning or something saying, "Hey, this Pokemon will be the first in line for battle, but it can't safely be outside of its Pokeball to follow you." So like give an in-game warning.
Oh my goodness. Ooh, or a Mewtwo just following you around. People are going to run in fear of this thing because it is scary looking.
Yeah. Or like if it's a flying Pokemon, maybe it's not walking behind you, but it's actually like flying or hovering behind your character. So like if you had a Pidgeot or like even a Mew. So like if you have a Mew as your Pokemon and it's just like flying around or Celebi or something, that would be really cool.
Oh. People would just die of cute overdose.
Yeah.
It'd be really awesome if they added the shiny sprites to them as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I'm all about shinies. I freaking love them. I will go do whatever it takes to go after the specific one that I want. Like, I don't care how long it takes to get it, I'll get it.
I have an Arceus shiny if you ever want that, so give me a heads up later.
So something I was thinking about is like if you had like a Jigglypuff walking behind you, maybe when you pass by certain characters, you see them like kind of getting sleepy, like their head just dips down or something. So, I don't know. Adding
Ooh,
in
status effects meaning something.
that would be. I think it would be too much programming for the company, but it would add like a little bit more like reality to it.
If you do any of these things, Nintendo, you take as long as you need, baby. I will wait.
All right. Does anyone have any final things to say, or did you have any more to follow up with that, Rick?
Nope.
All right. Well, with that said, we are at the very end of our little mini podcast, side quest, whatever you want to call it, for the Hylians Gamescast.
Side quest is awesome.
Yeah, on my channel, Game Over Jesse, I have new shirts available that you can go and buy for... I'm just going to go ahead and say like the first time, because the actual first time was only for like a day. So now they're actually up. There should be links down below at teespring.com/GameOverJesseNew. So just, Game Over Jesse with new at the end of it. And there are a couple new shirts that you can go and buy. Please do. Helps out the channel. And it's really cool to see people wearing the shirts. But we also have Avrith and Rick here. So, Avrith, where can people find you if they want to check out more from you? Also, really quick, for those who just happen to watch our Dragon Ball Z discussions, this is the face behind the voice. Because usually we just put up like a screenshot or something. Not much editing goes into it.
For people who take pictures of themselves on the shirt and put it on the channel, you will be shouted out.
Yeah. And it helps feed me. Like, I'm so poor, I went to buy one of my own shirts, and I didn't have enough money in the bank. So
See, Jesse will totally shout you out. I'm not totally making anything up.
yeah, literally so poor, I can't buy my own shirts. So, yeah. But yeah, where can people find you, Avrith?
They can find me best on your Discord. I'm not active enough on Twitter, and my own Discord has a fully different purpose than what we're doing here. Look for me as High King Avrith, and I'm always up for any kind of otaku talk. So if you tag me, I can see it, but I'm not always like completely aware of Discord because I move around way too much. This is what happens when you're a Pokemon games addict and you're an otaku.
Yeah.
I played Ultra Sun and Moon 3 times over.
And also, just reorganized today. I'm getting a lot of messages on the iPad, so sorry if you guys keep hearing that. But if any of you, because there are a lot of people that watch the channel that don't have a Discord or don't have a Twitter, but if you have a Facebook, I recently repurposed a Facebook group that I used to have for my old podcast to my new YouTube channel. Not new, whatever. So just go and type in Game Over Jesse in the search, and it should be like the only group that actually comes up. So if you want to keep track or talk to other people, but you don't want to go on Twitter or Discord, then you can do that. And Rick, RMFH Gaming, whatever you're going by these days, where can people find you? It's
all over the place. You guys can find me at RMFH on YouTube and at RMFH Gaming on Twitter. Yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm active mostly on my YouTube channel. My Twitter, I try to post at least once or twice a day, if not more. But yeah, that's me.
And what kind of content can they expect to find?
None.
Sweet.
Actually, no. I make Zelda content and everything, but
very
I'm going to be branching out to
here.
Yeah, Pokemon, all sorts of other Nintendo stuff pretty soon. Going to E3, so
yeah,
should
we're
be
roomies at E3, so should be
Hey,
nice.
people, make sure if you're going to E3 to hang out with Jesse and RMFH.
Yeah.
I would, but I'm still gimped, so.
Alright, well, with all of that said, please go follow Avrith on the Twitters or chat with him on the Discord. Go subscribe to Rick at RMFH Gaming. That's your URL, correct? youtube.com/RMFH
Yeah,
Gaming.
RMFH Gaming. It
Alright.
was...
Alright, and subscribe to me if you're not already. I don't know why you watched this for an hour if you're not subscribed, so... Yeah.
Just subscribe to Jesse. Just subscribe to RMFH. Don't subscribe to me. I'm not. My channel's not ready yet.
All right. Well, with that, thank you guys, and thank you everybody for watching.